Moshi moshi. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm actually still eating, so let me eat some more. If you hear my showing voices, please don't mind me. I actually came back home late today, and so I just managed to get my dinner. Right now, have you guys actually gotten your dinner? I hope you do, because this is pretty late. I don't know, it's pretty late for me. But anyway, I think this stream, I'm gonna put an early disclaimer, because like it's quite a sensitive topic to be true, right? Like it's just talking about work, just talking about workplace situation, might be a bit sensitive, so let's just put a disclaimer here that I in no way is talking in my capacity of my company. So it's like this is purely my own opinion, and this also does not in any way reflect every single company out there, right? Because the thing about HR is that it's very diverse. Every single company has a different HR culture, they have their own HR environment, so it cannot be generalized into the same stereotype or anything like that. Oh fuck, I broke my neck. Hi steak, sudah makan kah? Gue lagi makan sih. I'm gonna finish my food before I stop talking in depth about what I've been getting, about the response that I got from my post that I actually posted in my Facebook and my Twitter. I refuse to call it X because it sounds so ominous. I still keep calling it Twitter. I'm nearing the end of my food, so hopefully I can talk soon. Oh, ate a bowl of noodle. Good? Does it taste good, or is it actually just Indomie? Glorified Indomie. Also, I don't know. Am I actually laggy? Because my internet tonight is kinda funky. It's a bit laggy. I mean, the thing it's showing me good connection, but sometimes it's like doing a bit of this funny spinny thing. It says excellent connection, but I doubt it. Highly doubt it. Okay, so it really is lagging. This is exactly the issue that happens every time, every single time, and I have no idea on how to solve it. I actually have 3 different connections, like 3 different ISPs, and it still don't do shit. I'm in pain. Finally, I can see the end of my food. Switching bitrate, yeah, I did, but that's the thing, right? If I set it like too low, the movement becomes funny instead. I mean, I don't know if I can reduce it now, but let's see. Oh, I do actually. I don't know if it does something though. happening. Finishing my last strips of rice, and then we can start talking about the adult stuff, you know. This topic is strictly R18 because it is adult stuff. So if anyone ever asks you, you wanna have adult talks, you know, adult talks, wing wing, they probably mean talking about your workplace because it's purely adult stuff. Alright, let me throw my stuff a bit. Okay, so back to the topic. So I'm gonna start discussing about some things that is of concern to the most job seekers out there. Please don't mind me if I keep switching my language. Sometimes some things are just best spoken in Indo or in English, right? So let me open my commento section, and I've seen like in all of these comments that I received, right, there's like a certain pattern to it. Like there are some points that are like the majority that is of concern to people, and you know what, the number one is actually age, right? So the thing about age, it's also related to, let's say, the supply and demand of the market, right? Because when you think about it, Indonesia is like a huge ass country, you know. The amount of people, the amount of fresh graduates coming every single year, it increases, it never decreases. And you put it that way, that means the supply is actually much bigger than the demand, right? So that is the first thing that we need to take into account. First is that yes, indeed, supply is much larger than the demand, right? We take that into the account. Now, because we understand that the supply is bigger than the demand, the next thing we need to think about is why is it directly related to why some companies hire you based on your age, right? So technically speaking, this might not like apply to everyone or anything, right? But technically speaking, usually the older you get, it means you have more experience and slash or you are usually paid more than what fresh graduates get. Like even if, let's say, you're a fresh graduate, you never had any other jobs, like this is your literally first job, but like you are fighting the same job, you are fighting for the same job as a fresh with fresh graduates, so to speak, right? They'll still prefer the fresher ones. Why? Simply because there's this way of thinking, there's this kind of stereotype that fresh graduates have better or like faster adaptability, like they adapt faster, and then since they graduate, like they just graduated, they usually have, let's say, a more insight to technologies, that kind of thing. And also it's because they are fresh, some people take it the bad way or negative way, so to speak, but like fresh graduates, it's indeed they don't really know the marketplace, the market price of what their job is supposed to be paid. So like some people, some fresh graduates nowadays are already pretty aware of the situation, and they do research on how much they're supposed to earn for their own job on an entry level. Some of them do, but some of them don't. And this becomes dangerous for those people who actually do not do research on their wage, right? Because from the comments, people realize that yes, fresh grads can be like easily exploited because of that cheap wage, cheap salary, and all that stuff. But again, salary is not something that can be generalized in a way, because company A, company B, company C, they each and all of them have their own way of accounting for compensation and benefits, right? Because you can't expect a company, a big FMCG company, and like a really fresh startup kind of company to pay the same exact salary for the same exact position, simply because when you think about it, FMCGs have a lot more advantage in the sense of they have a much clearer budget, they already have an established way of earning their benefits, and then they also have benefits from their own products, right? But startups, they are fresh, right? They are really fresh, and then they don't really have the the stable cash flow yet. Then they have a lot of things that, so to speak, is not established yet, and so you can't expect these two different type of companies to pay you the same exact number. So like, let's say you do your research, your market research about how much you're supposed to pay, you need to think about it as based on what company that you do your research based on, and is it the same as the company that you're applying to, because you cannot apply the same rule to a different industry, right? I mean, FMCG and startup is like a really extreme kind of difference, but it doesn't have to be that way as well. Like it could be between both FMCG, but maybe one bigger, one smaller one. It's just different. Each and every of these companies have a different way of putting out salaries out there. And so the thing is that yes, one, you cannot generalize expecting the same salary for all of them. And then as a fresh grad, the only way for you to like try to up your price is either by getting more internships, which is actually pretty trendy right now. Like a lot of kids these days, I see, like even before they graduate from their university degree, right, they have like at least 3 to 6 months of internship experience, and that's like pretty advanced, so to speak. And that's also the reason why if you graduated before, like previously, like 1 or 2 years ago, and you still have no jobs, and you are fighting with fresh grads who already have, let's say, 3 to 6 months of experience. So when you put it that way, people are gonna prefer fresh grads. So the younger they are, the fresher they are, the more desirable they become. But this is not to say that they will always choose fresh grads. No. Again, it depends on what the company wants. It depends on the recruiter. Honestly, it depends on. It's a very. I feel like it's a very subjective thing, because again, the people who are recruiting you are the recruiters, right? They simply choose people who they think is gonna fit. For the hiring managers, they simply choose people who they think is gonna fit with the company culture and all that stuff. So it can't really be said that everyone is gonna take the exact same qualifications and all that. But yeah, age is also a thing that we cannot like deny, right? It will happen regardless of whether you want to or not. You are gonna still age. You're gonna be more senior, you're gonna be older than the new joiners, than the fresh grads. So yes, age is really a concern. It's not simply about company wanting you to become wanting to keep you. I mean, to be fair, in a sense, it may be, right? To public, it might seem like they are gatekeeping you by your age, but at the same time, it's also because, again, fresh grads sometimes have better knowledge, sometimes they are more fresh, sometimes they don't, let's say, require a high number for their salary. So yeah, so you need to think about it from a company perspective as well, and maybe you'll understand that. But yes, it's also not about old people do not need jobs. I mean, yes, we do, we definitely do, but again, when you think about the markets, when you think about how the market is growing each year with more and more supply but even lesser demands, it becomes definitely definitely harder for old people to actually get jobs, because if you are sort of applying, you're fighting for the same entry level job, right? They definitely prefer the younger ones, because one is that younger ones definitely have much better adaptability. They learn faster, usually, right? Usually they learn faster, usually they adapt faster, and they are more tech savvy, so to speak, as compared to, let's say, people who are already above 30. And this is basically, this only applies to, let's say, a very very basic entry level job, right? Because I don't know, maybe you guys had a different experience, but for me, I did have my experience working with people from all ages, right? I work with people who are still undergraduate, who are still undergoing their classes, who are still doing studies in their university. I've worked with fresh grads before. I've worked with seniors as well, people who are over 30, over 40, over 50 even now. And each and every one of them have their own traits, right? So it's I don't know, I feel like it's true, the fact that people who are still, let's say, under 25, they do learn faster, for me, right? In my experience, okay, this is speaking in my experience, that yes, people under 25 are actually learning faster, and yes, they are also at the same time more tech savvy as compared to, let's say, the older generations, like the 30 or 40 above, right? It takes longer to teach the seniors about new stacks, the new technology, the new applications that we use. It takes more time as compared to the fresh grads. So especially, this is especially true in startup environment, simply because it's a startup, everything moves very fast. So in a way, you are expected to learn things fast as well, because the thing about startup culture as well is that things are moving very fast. Something that you study now, something that you learn about now, might or might not be usable again in, let's say, a few months later. That's the thing. That's why like, if let's say, when I teach fresh grads on how to do things, I can sort of let them go work on their own after like 1 or 2 weeks, but with a bit of supervision, because they understand it fast. And then if the next month I add in something new to the process, and then they will catch up really quickly. They'll just need another, let's say, a few more days, get used to the new process, and then okay, they can go alone. But if, let's say, I am supposed to teach seniors, like I'm supposed to teach a manager of 30 years old or above, right? They take time. They really really take time to understand what I mean when I do this kind of thing. When I use the technology, they're gonna take time of figuring out things on their own. So like, I really really have to take care of them, like really go through the entire step and process. And then, not to mention, if we have technical jargons as well, it really takes time. So if, let's say, I can teach fresh grads and get them ready to work on their own in like 1 week, then the seniors are gonna take twice than that. So they're gonna take 2 weeks before I can like reliably let them do it on their own. So you get what I mean? It's the speed of learning. This is talking in the context of entry level jobs, alright? As compared to higher level jobs, if let's say it's already a managerial position, something more higher, like chief director or something like that, it's definitely experience having a better role there. So like, that's why if you really notice it, if you really checked the the job description, the vacancy description, right? If you see the chief levels, manager levels, mid to high levels, they don't have the age restriction anymore, simply because they value experience. Like, why would they restrict people? Because usually the older ones, the senior ones, are gonna have more experience, right? Because, well, if you're already a senior and high level, you can't possibly be very, very young. Or maybe you can be very young, but like, how many years of experience do you have under your belt? And like, how important is those experience? How much does it relate to the current situation that the company need, right? As opposed to the lower level ones, entry level, that specifically, like, they don't really need people who are experienced. Like, yes, if you have experience, internship experience, that becomes a plus for you, but it's not really required. And so in a sense, that's also why, yes, age restriction is there for people who are who are applying for entry level jobs, and that's why they have the age restriction of 25 usually. Most of them is 25, I think. I don't see. Sometimes some might be 30 actually. Some of the blue collar kind of jobs, I think some of them are actually 30. But think about it this way, that if for blue collar, the reason why they put age restriction is because the younger you are, the fresher your body is, and so by right you should have more stamina, and so you are not supposed to be prone to sickness, or maybe not as much as the seniors are. So yes, blue collar job is gonna have age restriction simply because of health issues usually, because the older you get, you can't really stop the issue that your bodies are gonna start having naturally, right? As compared to entry level jobs in, let's say, a startup, at just like something like an admin, something like a support team or something, very basic. It's different. The reason why they said that age restriction thing is different. So in a way, it's inevitable that the market demands lots of younger fresh grads. Yes, exactly. It's inevitable. It really is. Because you know, the population of Indonesia, it just keeps increasing and increasing, right? And then every single university is putting a lot more fresh grads out there for the market. So it really is a battle of who is younger and who has the most experience out of those youngsters. So if you, I don't know how to put this, but if you really want to be able to fight in that market, fight for your entry level job, you need to have something extra, something special that will make the recruiter, oh, this guy is worth taking in. Usually what I would recommend is that, first of all, try to get internships before you graduate. I mean, back then this was not really mandatory back then, and maybe some campus don't have it mandatory even now, but in the long run, right, you really need it. Because if you really graduate with nothing, with zero actual work experience, organizations and clubs like, I don't know, ISAC or something like that, it's cool, it's good to have, but again, ISAC is only applicable to, let's say, a job that actually benefits from it. Let's say if you are trying to go to become politician or something like that, maybe yes, that works. But if, let's say, I'm trying to get a entry level data analyst, then your organization activity, ISAC activity, is not gonna work a lot there. So what I recommend is, usually you need to plan on how you wanna go with your career since before you graduate, because there's really no leisure time for you to think about it this because if you are late even by like a few weeks, a few months, the position is not gonna be available because it'll be snatched by people of your same cohorts. So if you want to fight for it, you need to have an extra point for it, and the extra point, you earn it through having internships during your study. So before you graduate, you get internship that is related to what kind of career you want to pursue. And also, other than internship, there's also certifications. There's also trainings from some digital schools. I think there are a lot of schools these days, like no, it's not exactly schools, it's digital courses. Yeah, there's a lot of these companies providing digital courses and certifications and trainings and etc. You can try doing that. They might not seem very, I don't know, some people don't really want to do that because it doesn't seem very trustful, right? But it's better than nothing, you know. At the end of the day, it's better than nothing, because at least, even if, let's say, they are not really covering anything that is very specific, at the very least you know the basics of it, so that when you go in, you are not blind. You know, there's you have some basics to it, so you know what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, we tackled the age issue. So the next one, I think the next one is also the job description. So some people actually have issues with company job vacancies that they put as entry level vacancy, but at the same time the job description is definitely not for entry level, as in they require experience, they require a bit of experience. Basically, like, it's sometimes they put like minimum 1 year, sometimes they put it as minimum few months or something. And in a way, this is just I feel like this is a bad advertising from the company itself, or more of the recruiter, because the thing is, yes, entry level permanent job, it is supposed to be for fresh graduates, right? It's because it's entry. But again, this is very, very related to the previous one that I spoke about, the supply and demand of the market. Because you think about it, yes, it is entry level, but people of your cohorts fighting for that entry level have different level of experience with internships, right? So before you graduate, you already have, if you already have like a few months worth of internships, then you do have the experience, so to speak. That is also an experience. Like, so let's say if I have to recruit someone for a specific position, and there is like two candidates, right? There's one candidate who has only organization activities back in their university, and then there are the other candidate is someone who already has internships for 3 months for the same exact position, doing the pretty much the same job description as the one I requested, right? So obviously, based on that itself, I will definitely choose the one who already had internship experience. So also, this is looking it from the way of from the experience kind of thing, right? But also at the same time, the work culture these days, it's not just in startup. I think every single company, I think, have it. But basically, the things that the company has to deal with is going to keep increasing every year. It keeps increasing in size, it keeps increasing in the amount of cases that they receive, and so sometimes they won't have enough time to train people who is like very, very fresh, or like has absolutely no idea on what is happening, right? Because that's the thing. Even in my, I think in my past experience, right? So I also back then I had a bit of an experience doing a bit of recruiting, and so there's this comparison, there's this difference between hiring people now and hiring people 1 year ago, because I am hiring for like exactly the same position, entry level back then, right? But the requirements back then and the requirements now is actually different. Like back then, I can accept everyone as basically as long as you graduated, you had a bit of internship experience, that's okay, you can get in. But now, for the exact same position, I will require you to understand the technical jargons of the things. So it's not just someone who is fresh, I need you to really know the jargons that we are using here. Very general jargons about about your own job, but if you don't understand it, then you're out. Simply because the workload is increasing, the workload of that team is increasing, and if they don't have someone who already understands things, who don't already know the basics, the jargons and all that stuff, then it means they're taking a lot more time spending on training that guy than to have him do the actual work. So it's also a matter of the company's growth speed. So the faster they grow, that means the better kind of candidate they need. But sometimes if you're wondering like, then why don't you hire people who are more experienced, right? It's usually right, it's usually because of budget constraints. It's not that they don't want, but they need the people, they need the extra person to do that job, but the budget is usually not enough, right? And so this also comes back to my earlier explanation about age, like why people prefer fresh graduates over people who are already like 2 or 3 years older than them, simply because again, fresh grads, they don't really think, or they are not really critical about salary. Like they're gonna be like, most of them they're just happy with getting a job, and so they'll take these kinds of jobs. But like if you compare it with the older ones, they already know the market job, they already know like, I can earn this much from doing this amount of job back then, so if I'm gonna do this job again right now but with a lower salary or not getting any increase for it, I ain't gonna do it. Sometimes there's that kind of mindset, and so that's also the reason why people usually choose fresh grads, simply because again, the different mindset of this different generation, it happens to be that way. So in a way, it's like gatekeeping, I guess. But again, it's different company have different kind of situations, so I can't really speak for everyone in this case. And then jadi takut nyari kerja, jangan dong. Sebenarnya nyari kerja tuh nggak apa ya, sebenarnya susah gampang kalau aku bilang, karena gini, sebenarnya seberapa selektif aja sih ketika lu milih kerja gitu ya, karena lapangannya tuh banyak. If you check LinkedIn, if you check JobStreet, if you check every single of these job seeking platforms, there's a whole lot of openings. But what kind of company do you want to join and what kind of career path you want to build, it makes the filter there. The filter is on yourself, right? Karena kadang gini, ada sebenarnya nggak cuma 1-2 orang ya, kayak aku kenal kayak lumayan banyak orang. Mereka tuh sangat selektif dengan company apa yang mereka mau, dan sangat selektif dengan gaji yang mereka mau. Jadi yang apa ya, yang nge-gatekeep itu bukan perusahaannya, tapi mereka sendiri yang nge-gatekeep diri sendiri. Karena itu tadi ada constraint, masalah pengen perusahaan seperti apa, pengen gajinya berapa. Dan sebenarnya aku juga pernah interview orang, dan awalnya misalnya ada yang kayak ini fresh grad ya, konteksnya adalah gue nge-interview fresh grad, and awalnya tuh mereka masih bilang kayak oke, gue ada nyebutin gitu ya, kayak untuk kerjaan segini, job desk kamu gini, range gajinya nih segini ya gitu. Terus ketika udah pas offering, gue kasih tahu oke, jadi gaji fixmu segini ya gitu. Terus dari merekanya kayak, ini aduh kurang nih gitu, gajinya kurang nih gitu. And tapi gimana ya, you can't really expect to be able to like get a high kind of salary as a fresh grad, dan yang apa ya namanya, udah mah fresh grad, pengalaman belum seberapa, terus lu minta banyak, itu agak kurang ajar sebenarnya. Karena emang mungkin ada yang ngerasa kayak, gue ada kok pengalaman organisasi, gue ada pengalaman ini lomba gitu. Cuma kan again, itu memang sebuah experience, but at the same time itu juga bukan experience yang bener-bener relatable buat kita gitu. Kayak I mean gue juga aktif ya, dulu pas ngampus gue sering ikut panitia lah, sering ikut organisasi gitu-gitu, but at the end of the day ya, gue masuk kantor, none of those are actually used. If anything, skill yang bisa gue bawa itu cuma skill building relation dengan orang ya. Jadi pengalaman seperti apa yang lu bisa bawa, apa yang bisa quote unquote yang bisa lu jual kepada perusahaan supaya mereka mau bayar lu lebih gitu loh. Jadi makanya kayak gue saranin tadi ya, better get experience magang. At the very least lu harus ada magang deh sebelum tamat, karena itu bener-bener pintu gerbang pembuka pintu gerbang pertama banget deh. Apalagi di zaman sekarang ya, 2023, dimana kayak lu yang kalau misalnya lu fresh kayak bener-bener seger, it's so hard to get an actual job. Jadi kalau lu mau apa ya, at least bisa kebuka dikit pintunya, ada kuncinya gitu kan, at least magang lah gitu. Yang udah berpengalaman standarnya tinggi, yes itu emang pasti standarnya tinggi. Cuma gini juga, ini bener-bener tergantung ke mana lu apply, ke perusahaan apa lu apply. Karena ke perusahaan mana sama job apa yang lu apply. Kalau misalnya lu levelnya udah yang menengah ke atas mah oke lah, itu memang lebih seharusnya tidak terlalu sulit, karena again lu punya experience. Kalau memang lu punya experience, lu bisa jual itu experience, lu akan dapat gitu. Cuma kalau misalnya lu masih fresh grad, gak punya experience sama sekali, and then you expect to get the job permanen gitu, itu susah banget. Karena again tadi, cohort lu itu banyak yang udah bisa bersaing. Especially Indonesia sekarang di Menteri, di Kemendikbud kan mereka punya program kampus merdeka, magang kampus merdeka, itu kayak banyak banget pesertanya. Setiap tahun itu bisa berapa ribu orang yang rilis dari cohortnya kampus merdeka. So you bayangin lah, lu harus berantem, lu harus ngerebut kerjaan yang sama dengan ribuan orang itu yang udah punya pengalaman magang kampus merdeka. Jadi kalau lu udah gak ikut programnya, terus gak nyari magang mandiri, lu gak akan bisa saing di market, kecuali lu punya something very very outstanding gitu. Magang tapi gara-gara kuliah jadi paling mentok, kerja cuma freelancer ya. Kalau memang pekerjaan freelancernya itu related dengan karir yang nantinya mau lu tuju, silakan, it's good if anything gitu kan. Cuma itu lagi, balik lagi dari segi karir gitu kan, apakah yang lu kerjain nanti itu menopang karir lu di masa depan? Apakah ini sesuatu yang mau lu lakukan secara jangka panjang? Is it long term or is it something very short term gitu? Kalau misalnya apa ya namanya, kalau dari kampusnya gak bisa ngasih like magang buat part time ya, try to at least get a cuti semester gitu. Mungkin selama 1 semester cuti dulu, tapi I recommend this cutinya tuh di akhir-akhir aja ya, kayak menjelang skripsi atau memang udah tinggal tugas akhir baru lu ambil cutinya. Magang bentar, magang dikit dulu, ngerjain skripsi, baru lu lulus. Ketika lulus itu akan lebih ada chance, gua gak akan bilang lebih gampang, but lebih ada kesempatan untuk bisa dapat kerja gitu sih basically. Karena bener-bener ya kalau gue lihat dari pasar sekarang, it's almost impossible untuk lo bisa dapat kerja dalam kondisi fresh grad kosong gitu. Fresh grad yang bener-bener kosong, gak punya pengalaman kerja itu I don't know, I feel like it's almost impossible, melihat betapa banyaknya orang fight for that position gitu sih. Apalagi kalau let's say lo punya targetnya perusahaan gede gitu, perusahaan yang udah established, nama gede, apalagi internasional, gak akan ada kesempatan sih kalau gue bilang. Karena bener-bener lawan lo tuh orang yang udah ada bekal gitu. Jadi kayak kalau fresh grad nggak berpengalaman tuh istilahnya lu berantem tanpa bawa bekal, itu impossible gitu sih. So yes, magang is very needed, very very needed, especially these days. Kalau nggak ada magang, wah habis loh. Terus apalagi nih kalau gua lihat-lihat, oh ada juga yang ngomong kekuatan orang dalam. Oke, ini susah sih, Karena kekuatan ordal again it depends on manajemen dari company-nya ya. Karena ordal, mau dibilang ordal pun ya, biasanya yang bener-bener masuk, ordal yang bener-bener bisa masuk itu yang tingkatnya agak atas. Jadi let's say udah itu yang masukin tuh levelnya CEO atau CEO -1 gitu, itu mungkin, atau mungkin dari komisarisnya. Jadi kayak ordal, kekuatan ordal tuh bener-bener yang harus ordal tinggi. Kalau yang ordalnya masih kayak kroco-kroco gitu, kayak masih selevel manajer biasa atau bahkan yang kayak staff-staff normal, staff-staff yang tak berkuasa gitu, itu nggak akan masuk, itu pasti akan kena saring. Cuma ya kekuatan ordal ini nggak akan kelihatan nggak akan kelihatan banget sebenarnya, karena mereka biasanya they do it very discreetly, itu sangat-sangat hidden biasanya. Jadi cause again this is not something that you mau umbar ke publik kan, bahwa perusahaan gue bisa masuk ordal gitu kan, nggak mau. So yeah, again this really depends on the management. Jadi tergantunglah seberapa banyak celah yang ada di sisi atas, di sisi manajemen atas. Jadi gue nggak bisa berkomen banyak ya soal ini, karena kalau dari tempat-tempat yang udah pernah gue kerja gitu kan, memang sebenarnya bukan kekuatan ordal, tapi ada yang namanya employee referral program gitu. Jadi iya, lu boleh masukin CV teman-teman lu gitu, tapi mereka akan melalui proses rekrutmen yang sama. Apa advantage-nya dibandingkan sama orang yang apply sendiri? Nah, biasanya yang di referralin, yang dikasih yang CV-nya nitip teman gitu-gitu, itu biasanya akan lebih ternotis duluan. Jadi itu nggak akan membuat lu kayak lo akan pasti keterima karena lu di referral oleh teman, enggak juga, tapi lu akan lebih kenotis duluan. Jadi let's say biasanya ya opening itu akan sistemnya siapa cepat dia dapat gitu kan. Jadi kalau misalnya ada yang apply duluan, dia bagus, langsung terima dia. Kadang ada beberapa rekruter yang mungkin akan lebih milih untuk gue mau lihat dari sekian banyak pool ini siapa yang paling bagus gitu. Cuma kalau misalnya biasanya butuh cepat, itu nggak akan peduli, biasanya akan kayak paling cepat siapa, kalau dia oke langsung masuk gitu. Jadi that is the only advantage of yang quote unquote orang dalam yang bisa nitip CV lewat temen gitu, karena mereka akan lebih duluan dinotis, akan lebih duluan diproses. Kalau cocok bisa duluan masuk, kalau misalnya nggak cocok ya udah dia nggak akan keterima juga. Jadinya ya yang akan diproses mungkin dari pool atau dari orang lain gitu. Keinget ada yang pas diwawancara sama HR bilang, iya saya keponakannya Pak Bu. Auto reject, betul. Jadi ada beberapa HR, ada beberapa tim gitu, kayak some of the big corporates actually. Kalau untuk korporat besar ya, mereka bahkan melarang, dari peraturan perusahaannya itu melarang lu punya hubungan keluarga dengan orang di dalam satu tim itu. Jadi if let's say gue kerja di bagian HR, kemudian nanti saudara gue mau apply sama posisinya dengan di tim gue, itu nggak boleh, dia otomatis nggak akan masuk. Either dia ketendang ke divisi lain, atau dia gak akan masuk sama sekali. Karena lo bener-bener gak boleh yang namanya satu darah, satu kenalan berada di dalam satu tim gitu. Jadi ya orang dalam it doesn't really work. It depends lah, again it back again, it depends on your company management, seberapa lenient atau seberapa besar kemungkinannya lu di refer sama manajemen atas gitu. Again, hello Mona, how goes the gossip, brah? Who the hell Mona? But yes, the gossip is going pretty strongly, I guess. Okay, let's see jam kerja. Okay, another concern is work hour. Jam kerja, this is something that also cannot be generalized. Okay, so work hours, you need to really check the company policy and your work contract to define your work hours, and this is also something that you need to question when you are still in the interview session, right? Like if you do overtimes, do you get paid for it? And like what is the limit of working usually, and like what time you start to work, what time it ends, that kind of thing. It is something that you need to research yourself, because again, this is something that is individual to each of these companies. Like some companies will be like, okay, we are supposed to work like 9 hours per day, and then you get like 1 hour of break each day, and then you're supposed to work only like 40 hours per week, something like that. Or if you do overtime, you're gonna get paid. Or sometimes some company will simply not pay you for overtime. It really is based on their company policy and their employer contract. So make sure before you work, you really need to make sure that these things are actually regulated in the company policy and in your employment contract. Because again, this is something very individual to each company. I cannot really say that yes, you are supposed to pay for overtime, because again, yes, it is actually stated in the government regulation about overtime that yes, we are supposed to get paid if you are working outside of the working hours. But the main regulation that will be taken into account is the company regulation itself. It's not the government ones. Like you can try to review it with the government, but because you sign a contract that states that you are not getting paid for your overtime, that means that document is gonna precedent over the government regulation. So yeah, once again, make sure when you want to work, when you are doing the interview, you ask about the work hour, if you're gonna get paid for the overtime, how much you're paid for overtime, and all that stuff. And then work hour is also related to work-life balance, right? Like sometimes you feel like the job that you receive, the kind of assignments that you receive per day, maybe it's like too much or too huge of a load, and that you can't finish it on that day. Then you need to be honest with it, right? Do you want to, let's say, like sacrifice your time to finish it right now, or do you want to like keep it for tomorrow? And this kind of thing, it really depends on your work culture. It depends on your manager, like how do they view this, how do they solve this. So like yes, we all know that we want work-life balance, but at the same time, you are working for people, you're not working for your own, right? You're working under other people, so you need to like find a way to settle it. You need to find a way, a middle ground for both you and your employer to talk about these things. And then again, salary and responsibility. So yeah, again, salary, it depends, it really depends on each company, as I mentioned before. Like it cannot be generalized, but yes, I also want to make sure that people are first aware of the market price of your own job. Like maybe not all of them is gonna have like, let's say, the same salary, but just pick out the bare minimum and the very maximum price of it. Just get that really wide range of it. Like kalau merasa kayak kerjanya nih kayaknya sulit banget, tapi kayak gajinya di bawah UMR, itu agak was-was ya. Kayak minimal sebenarnya ekspektasi sih sebenarnya seharusnya gitu, kalau udah yang namanya bukan fresh grade lah, fresh grade lah. Fresh grade, sometimes bukan fresh grade juga sih, kayak a bit more senior, itu at least bisa dapetin UMR sih. Soalnya kalau fresh grade, kalau bisanya dapetnya di perusahaan startup yang benar-benar segar, mungkin akan agak sedikit under gitu. Cuma jangan sampai di press terlalu murah juga gitu ya. Jadi kayak kalau memang desperate for a job, you really need it, maybe you can take it, but don't do it for too long. Try to get somewhere yang yang lu rasa okay, gaji ini worth it untuk kerja segini gitu. And also at the same time, be aware of your own skills, of your own abilities, because again, salary is not just about the work that you do, but the quality of the work that you do. So if like you can't, your output is something very typical, very stereotype kind of thing, that like there's nothing special to it, then yeah, you're just gonna get paid the exact same amount, the stereotype amount. So if you're expecting more than that, then it means you need to offer something that cannot be gained from other people, that has to be, you know, provided from yourself. Jadi kalau misalnya mikirin soal mau naik gaji, mau dapat gaji yang lebih gede, you think back to yourself, you reflect it to yourself, like can you provide something else? Apakah ada nilai tambahnya gitu yang bisa lo provide? Don't get too comfy. Yes, exactly. This is also getting too comfy is also actually an issue, because it could either mean that you are no longer growing and you are like simply walking at the same pace, or simply that you cannot get a new job because your career is like, let's say your career path is too niche. But try to not be very passive in that sense. Like if you feel like you're living very comfortably, or maybe a bit too comfortably, but your position is anywhere near the high level, let's say you're still entry level, like for 3 years, and you're still on the entry level job, and you're not trying to get better, get a career advancement, or go to work somewhere else, then it's a bad sign for you, because you are no longer growing. You're simply working on the same place, and you know what that means? That means you are very much replaceable. You will be very much replaced by fresh grads who are going to have better tech abilities than you, who are going to bring more fresh point of view to the company. They're gonna have like a lot more advantage as compared to you, because your advantage being there is simply that you are longer there and you know how things goes. But these fresh grads, the moment you teach them, they're gonna learn and they're gonna overtake you, and then you'll just be gone. They don't need you anymore. They get the newer ones. That's it. That's the end of you. So make sure to really try to grow for yourself. Like if you really feel that you are not learning anything new, you talk to your manager, right? You talk to your manager, like, is there something else that you can do? Is there like something new that you can learn, or is there any possibility of you getting a mutation to another, let's say another department or another team, so that you can learn something new and you gain knowledge for yourself? And if none of those are possible, that means it's time for you to get a new job, a new, no longer entry level job, but at least a mid kind of job, entry to mid or mid to senior level kind of job. But yes, again, it's something that you have to be aware of yourself, because sometimes people will not really tell you, because again, they're mostly gonna focus on their own stuff, right? So this is something that you need to be aware on your own. Hi Manis. Hi Kasvia. Good advice, of course I do give good advice. No shit, brother. Maybe one day I'll do a stream where it's filled with bad advice only, and I'll see if you guys ever actually do it, because it's gonna be fun. And then another concern is that Validitas perusahaan. Okay, there's an issue, there's a concern about validity of the company, and I think this is very true, because again, these days there are a lot more startups as compared to back then, like a few years back. And these startups, they might be legit, they might be not legit, you know what I mean? Sometimes it might be real, these companies might be real companies, but these companies might also be not a good company. So my advice for fresh grads, for job seekers, if there's like say a company approaching you, a recruiter approaching you, asking like, would you like to join this company, we would like to offer this, like, okay, that sounds like a good offer, but first you need to do a background check of that company yourself. You need to actually do research on it. And usually for me, if I try to confirm the validity of a startup, usually what I do is I look for the investors for that startup. Like if I see some big names, like let's say the most popular one is usually Alibaba. If you like, you see that the investors are like very good, very big venture capitals, then let's say that they have a more steady future, like they're gonna be, let's say, a growing startup. But if you search for it and then you see there's none of these investors that you know, and then when you search for the investor there's no information on them, then that's a real big red flag right there. So again, if you want to check for the validity of the company, first you check who the investors are, and then you check the profile of the investors itself. Like, are they going healthy? Do they actually exist? Are they healthy or not? And then you base your judgment based on the information that you gathered. Also, the easiest things usually is also to check for the company in Google Maps. Yes, you need to try checking the office from Google Maps, because technically office companies should have office, because if they don't have office, then by right they cannot register themselves as a company, right? So you should ask like the legal office address, and then you try looking for it in Google Maps, and does it look legit to you? Because some companies, they can be easily tracked by the company address, right? And then you can see if there's an actual office building there, or is it like nowhere in the whole world, like is it something like in the middle of a forest or something. You can easily check the validity based on the location itself. And then there's also checking the background of the recruiter or the people who is trying to recruit you. And most of the time, these people who are approaching you is usually gonna be headhunters. So first is that you check the company of this recruiter, like where are they working at? Is it a legit headhunting company? Is it a legit direct company, or where? Check the company profile of this person, of who is trying to approach you for this new job. So you already just by doing this, right, you already have 3 ways of confirming whether is this company valid, or is this company real, or is it not, or is it just a fake or a dummy company. And then there's also a concern over the recruitment process. Okay, so recruitment process, I think it also differs for each company, okay? Because again, recruitment process is very specific for each and all these companies. Usually, if you check the more established companies, the bigger ones, especially FMCGs, right? They usually have an established process to their recruitment. Like they will usually start with you submitting your documents, and then you're supposed to do some online tests, then do a HR interview, and then do a user interview, and then there's the offering stage as well. But this is assuming that they already have a standardized process for recruitment. Sometimes smaller ones, sometimes startups, they don't really have this kind of elaborate process, because this long recruitment process is actually not cheap at all. They do have a cost, right? So usually startups will not be able to afford that cost, and what they do is simply have an interview directly with the hiring manager, and that's okay. That's also a form of an interview. It's just that when you something about I don't know if this exists in other country, right? But in Indo, there is some kind of this fake recruitment process where you go to like a random weird company out of nowhere. Like it doesn't look like a legit company building, and you go in, and then apparently it's just a scam company. So first thing you want to do in case of that happening to you is that you check in the Google map, like does it look like something they have, at the very least when you enter the office, do they have a company logo in there? And then does it look like a proper office setting? Like, do you actually see people working in there? So sometimes these fake people, these scam companies, right, they don't have these elements. They don't have the elements of their companies, and then like it's not, it doesn't look like a legit office building. Like it's like something of a house, like a personal house kind of thing, but they turned it into like a fake office space of some sort. Penting ada duit masuk dulu, yoi. So yeah, checking out the recruitment process is also crucial in a way. And yes, also there's a time constraint to this recruitment process. Usually the recruitment process of big companies, even big companies, right, I'd say they take at a maximum is 2 months usually, right? It's the 2 months is not from when you started putting in your CV, right? It started from when they contacted you for the first time, usually going through all the entire process of submitting your documents, doing the digital tasks, and then doing the interviews, a few layers of interviews. At most it should only take 2 months, maybe in some really rare cases maybe 3 months, but it shouldn't be more than that, because that's just way too long. And then it might also be kind of sus, right, in a way, because like, why are you only getting contacted after all these months? So it's kind of weird. But let me also explain that there might also be a possibility of you getting contacted above 3 months or something, because sometimes it's that yes, they already hired a person for the specific position that you are applying to, but remember that there's a probation period. Okay, so if let's say this person that they hired, they actually failed their probation, then what the managers usually do is that they do not immediately look for new people, but they contact the people who they have previously interviewed. So if let's say there are 2 candidates, right? There's the one that in my interview I mark him as A, and then there's another people who I mark as A minus, right? So obviously in this case I'm going to first hire the A guy, right? And then after working for like a few months with this guy, okay, I think this guy actually doesn't fit, I think he might have liked something in the interview or in the CV, and then I'm going to mark him as failing the probation, right? And then the first thing I'm gonna do is I'll contact the people, the person who I marked as A minus. Okay, because it's actually easier to get someone who is already processed before than to get someone new. Because think about it, if I get someone new, that means that guy has to go through the entire early process of submitting, waiting for him to submit the documents, and then waiting for him to do the online test and all that before getting to the interview stage. So why just not use or reuse the pool that has already been used before, that the people who I've already interviewed before but simply was not the top candidate, but now becomes the top candidate because the previous one is apparently not performing well, so to speak. So it's not always that people who only, like company who only contacted you after a few months is sus. Sometimes it's just the way the recruitment works, the pool that the recruiter does. Sometimes it's that way. So as long as you know, as long as you can confirm the validity of the company, I think the recruitment process itself shouldn't be like really bad red flag or anything for you, as long as the company is valid. And then there's also an issue about company culture, company and the work environment. And the thing about work culture, the thing about environment is kinda difficult, so to speak, because again, each company have their own cultures, each of them have their own work culture. So we can't really like say if this company has a good work culture, this company is gonna fit you or not. It's not something that you can like really say, because the thing is this you can't really you can't really say that this is good or this is bad if you never really experience it. It's something that you can only feel or something that you can only taste after you actually join the company. And usually you can also ask for feedbacks from, let's say, the people who already work there. If, let's say, you know, friends who previously worked there, and then like they have their own subjective way of, let's say, marking like how the work culture is and how the people in there are working like, and it's fine to get it from your friend, but again, it's a very subjective kind of, you know, it's something that is very subjective. You can't really take that word forward, because I've had people back then complaining about this company being A, this company having a B kind of work culture, like this is bad, this is good, and stuff like that. But when you experience it yourself, apparently, hey, it's not all true, because work culture, right, it is enforced by the manager, not the company, not the whole company itself. Because let's be real, even if, let's say, the company policy, company regulation is like very, very harsh or something, again, you are working directly with your manager, not with the entire company. So the environment itself is fostered within your team. So team A and team B within the same company might have a different kind of work culture. So again, don't be really relying, like very, very reliant on outsiders' perspective. Like, yes, you can take them into account, but don't make them into like something of like 100% truth, because again, it's very subjective. And oh, stream starting to lag. Yeah, my net is getting kind of funny right now. It's been this way since a few days ago, so I'm like, I know this is gonna happen. And then let's see somewhere else. And then there's also asking about turnover rate. Okay, so this is pretty okay. This should be better, I think. I don't know what. I don't even know which one of my internet is failing, but I hope this is actually better. And then other than turnover rate, let me see. Red flag. And then there is someone who says that a red flag for me is when I'm filling in the recruitment form, and then I'm expected to put expected salary range. And honestly, this is, I don't know, this is still kind of a thing that exists in our country. I mean, not gonna lie, this is something that only exists in Indonesia maybe. I don't think there's any other country who has this kind of practice where you are supposed to write down how much salary you're expecting from the job, because this is like, I don't know. I feel like, again, this is something that is very specific to each companies, because sometimes they do put it out there to really filter, like how are these people asking for too much, or are these people asking for too low, and then they judge their hire based on that salary level. And like, it is a legit way. It's not, I'm not saying that it is a good way, but it is a legit way of filtering the amount of applicants. And it is especially true for jobs that has like high amount of people interested in applying. Let's say usually these are entry level jobs, right? So it's pretty common for them to have you write the expected amount of salary in there, so that you don't have to try to like lowball yourself when they try to negotiate the salary, or like try to highball and stuff like that, because they simply want to filter people based on how much they can pay. And I won't really call it a red flag, because honestly this is also done by big companies. This is actually done by big conventional companies. It's not that these companies are bad per se. It's not that they are a red flag. This is something they do simply because they have tens of thousands of applicants aiming for that same position within the same month, you know. So the way they need to filter it again is usually based on education, based on experience, and then if let's say after all those very very tight filters, and then the last choice to cut the number down again is usually by seeing the salary expectation. So the thing about salary expectation, there's no real way to answer it. There's no one correct way on how to answer the question of how much salary are you expecting. So usually what I would recommend you to do is again do a market research on how much you're supposed to get paid for that position. Or if you are previously already working, you already had a prior work experience, just take that as the very base amount of salary. And then since you are like trying to get a new job, right, that means you can increase it a bit, you know. The increase depends on how much you think you're gonna need for this new job, right? Let's say you're getting an increase in responsibility, so you're expecting a 20 to 30% increase. Or maybe you feel that this job is like pretty much almost the same as my previous job, maybe I'll just increase it by 5 to 10. It depends on your perspective. It depends on how you feel or how you feel you're supposed to get paid. So again, there's no real correct answer to how you answer these questions, because this is this really depends on how much you mark yourself and how much budget is available for them to hire you. And I'm not saying that there's a very correct price, so to speak, about this kind of thing, because even market price can sometimes be skewed, right? Because I've had cases of people recruiting for a specific position, and apparently they are overpaid, because in other companies in the market, being paid like that is already for a high senior level, but apparently they got this amount when they're only mid-level kind of thing. So even recruiters can provide you with a wrong, not really wrong, but not a market price kind of salary. So yeah, just beware. I'd like to just say that yes, just beware of your skills. Just beware of how much people who have a similar skill to you is getting paid. That's all I can say. And then there's also an issue, there's also a concern about office politics. I won't comment much about this, but I mean, let's be real, office politics is real. You'll always get it no matter where. Even in startups, even more especially on the established conventional companies, because yes, office politics. And even if you try to avoid it, there's gonna be, at one point you'll just be involved in it. But the question is, how do you handle it? Like, are you gonna try to ride the wave, or are you trying to fight it, or what? It really depends on your perception. But honestly, it depends on how you want to live your life in the company, right? Like, are you gonna stick to a certain people? Are you gonna try to do, like, follow your boss? Are you gonna try to, I don't know, pull some union movement or something? It's really a diverse kind of thing. There's no one true answer to how you deal with office politics. It's something that you need to be aware of it on your own. If you want to make sure that your career is safe, then you need to know how to act around your boss, how to act around your colleagues. And so it is really really imperative when you work, you need to like be able to view things as objectively as possible, so that you don't get caught in the quote unquote wrong crowd. but at the same time not I don't know how to say it in a nice way, but not kissing your boss ass too much, because that will piss your colleague off. Not gonna lie, it will piss your colleague off. So just try to, you know, find your way, find your balance in it. Try to ride the wave as needed. Like don't stuck up too much to your boss, but at the same time also be, you know, try to blend in with your colleagues more, so that, you know, you don't live a hard life in the office while you're working. Because some people sometimes they cannot stand the office politics, and they leave simply because they failed to ride the wave of the office politics. And honestly, each to their own, you know, because some people are more resistant to that kind of thing, and some people cannot take it. So, but again, this is office we're talking about. You're definitely gonna, it's definitely gonna happen to you whether you like it or not. So it's really up to you how you want to handle it. Do you want to ride the waves? Do you want to resist? It's up to you. And then there's also an issue of a minimum education. Yes, that's true. And again, minimum education is simply there because of the supply and demand. It's back to point one again. It's all about supply and demand. So if let's say you're already working for like 2 or 3 years, but you are not growing, you're still doing the exact same thing for 2 or 3 years, and then there comes a new fresh graduate. They have a training certificate, they have a lot of new stuff to bring into the company, and that means you, as someone who is only working at the same place for 2 to 3 years, you're gonna get replaced. So what you want to do is to get training yourself. You get you learn something new, you get a new skill yourself, you train yourself, get a new certification and all that, so that you don't get replaced. You need to be able to bring like something of value. You put a value in your work so that you become unreplaceable. Okay, I think that should be most of it. Let me check. Oh, and then there are also restrictions on restrictions on restrictions on your appearance. And appearance, the restriction on appearance, right? Usually it applies on job that requires you to be in the public. Usually, and very very obviously, is sales, because you're out there, you're selling product, right? So you need to look attractive. That's a deal breaker, you know. Like, why would I buy something if the person selling it to me cannot catch my attention? Because let's be real, psychologically you're gonna get attracted to it's not really attracted in the kind of love or anything, but like have the attraction to actually notice this person. You will only notice them if they look pretty to you, if they look attractive, right? Because attractive, right? So there is gonna be specifically restrictions based on your looks, depending on what your job is. And usually, again, this restriction usually applies to works where you have to come to the public, where you have to show yourself, sell the product and stuff like that to the public. So yeah, this is something that cannot be reversed. Unfortunately, this is something that will definitely happen. You cannot you cannot really say, no, I want to work this, but I don't have the height, I don't have the looks and stuff like that. Nah, in no way. Because that's just how it is, you know. You need to sell the product, you need to look attractive to catch people's attention, and there's no other way around it. And then there's also there's the future, and then the future of your career. Again, when you're looking for work, actually this is even before when you're looking for a job. When you are planning your future from back in your university days, when you are still doing your classes and all that, you should already plan your career, in the sense that you already know after you graduate, you're gonna do this job, and then after a few years of dabbling in that job, you're gonna try to increase it. You're gonna get level up into a manager, and then a few years later, you're gonna level up, and etc. etc. And it's something that you have to plan on your own, and you need to plan it early, because the moment you take a wrong step in the, let's say, the earlier parts of it, like when you just barely get out of the college, and then you get a new job, and then apparently when you when you do a deep dive on it, apparently there's no like future career to it, then you're kind of stuck there. So like really make sure when you plan for your career, when you plan for your future, you need to make sure that this is something that I can do for a long term, and there is a way to level up when I do this job, that kind of thing. So make sure that when you try to get a job as a fresh grad, the first thing you do is you research how sustainable is this job. What will happen to this job 5 years later? What will happen to this job 10 years later? Like, is it something that can be expanded? Is this something that can sustain you for a long term? If it's not, then you're better off looking for another alternative, unless, let's say, you can make something of a like very good kind of very amazing kind of thing, where you simply open up a new line of career. I don't know, maybe it will happen. But either way, again, do your research, like really do a proper research on how the career on a certain or a specific kind of job is gonna expand to in the future. And then I think that should be most of it. Skills are already in, and then oh, and then there are some concerns about getting asked to do things that you are not supposed to be able to do. This, I don't know, I actually don't know how often this happens, as in, does it only happen in startups, or does it happen in the old conventional companies as well? Because it usually depends on the workforce available. So if, let's say, the company does not have enough people, and then like they are in urgent need for you to do something that is usually out of your job description, and then like they got no other people to ask other than you, then yeah, sometimes that can happen, that you are made to work something that is not in your job description. But the way I want you to think about it is that, is it something long term? Are you supposed, or are you made to do this thing long term? Because if it's a long term, and then you just keep on getting, tasked with these things that you're not supposed to do, then it's actually a bad sign. It's usually a bad sign, because what that means in the future, let's say they have another set of new job that nobody can handle, and then they know that they can just throw everything to you. It's a really bad sign. So wave your white flag. Have a talk to your boss. To it, and they expect you to still do it, then it's your choice to either stick to it, keep doing it, or you resign. That's it. And this is something that is very company specific. Like, we can't really tell whether the recruiter is honest with their job recruitment or not, with their job description that they put up in the ads or not. We can't really know that until we really experience it. So yeah, this is back to yourself. You need to see it on your you need to see it from your own perspective, and take the option, take what you need to do based on what you think you're supposed to do. I'm in predicament since I know I can do my current job for a long time, but I want to move out to get more experience. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So the first thing that you need to do when you already realize, right, okay, I can do this current job, but you feel like you're no longer growing, you need to learn something new, then again, it's either you ask your manager, like, is there something else that I can do? Is there something else that I can learn? Can I get rotated into, let's say, other department to learn something new? If not, your option is simply to resign. You get another job that can expose you to the new elements that you are asking for. There really is no other way around it. And it also, the responsibility also lies on yourself to get out of that safe zone, because undeniably, when you feel like you can do your current job for a long time, that means you already have a safe zone in it. You already root yourself as, okay, this current job is a safe space for me, it's a safe zone for me. And the question is, can you get out of it? Do you want to take the step to resign and get a new job, or do you want to just stay in your safe zone? Because if you want to learn something new, if you want to really expand your horizon, then there is no other way except to step out of that comfort zone. You need to get out of your safe zone. So again, it's back to your decision. Like, do you want to stay with this safety, or do you want to, really expand yourself, really grow for yourself, and then go get a new job? Simple as that, honestly. Okay, so what else can we get? I don't think there is anything else. Okay, there's also a concern about your legal documents getting held back. I don't know if this applies to other countries, but I think this maybe right, maybe this only exists in Indo. But like some companies, like, they like to hold back your certificate, your diploma, your any other legal documents. Basically, they like to hold you back. I don't even know why. Honestly, I don't know why, because in my whole years of working, I never had my documents getting held back, basically. But maybe, I don't know, maybe if, let's say, it's a blue collar job, or like very entry level kind of job, maybe they hold it so that you don't, run away from your job. This is just a maybe, alright? This is just a speculation from my side. Because honestly, if the company is established, I don't think they will hold on to your legal documents, because honestly, it's not supposed to be legal. Because these documents are yours, and they are not meant to be held back that way. So yeah, I don't know why some companies do that, like holding back your legal documents. Like, for what? The only plausible reason that I can think of is that, yeah, it's to avoid you running away, going MIA after like a few days of working, and then, I decide I don't want to work anymore, I'm just gonna go MIA. Then you cannot do that. But yeah, I think there should be nothing else. I don't think there's any other concerns. Do you guys have anything else though? Because honestly, I think this should be the gist of it, because I don't see anything else for now. Well, yep, that, I guess, since I have no more comments of people about their concerns, I think those should cover most of the main ones. I think maybe there are like a lot more very specific things, but again, those specific things are like concerns to each on their own, right? I think I'm not gonna like try to delve too deep into those very personal reasons. But if you really want to, or like you want to consult with me about something of that topic, feel free to do that. You can still do it in my Discord channel, or you can even tag me in my Facebook post, you can tag me in my Twitter, anywhere. But yes, anyway, since I'm actually kind of tired, my old bones, I'm just gonna end the stream here. Thank you all for sticking with my HR 101. I try to get as neutral view as possible. So again, back to my very first disclaimer, I am in no way representing any company or even my own company. Okay, this is just pure my own personal opinion and personal experience. Right, guys, thanks guys for tuning in. I'm gonna go to bed now. I hope you guys also enjoyed your night. Also have a good night and have a good rest. Bye bye.